every Shabbat is a very special Shabbat for me to bring you a message. But this Shabbat even has a double quality to me because this is the Shabbat of the Bar Mitzvah that remembers my time when I was 13 years old. And this is the time also that what remembers about what identified me at my time of birth. This parasha, Bar Mitzvah, is the fourth book of the Chumash. It's called also Chumash Pekudim. That is the Chumash or the fifth books, 5 books of the Torah that is talking about the census, and also in Latin is known as the numbers. Now, BeMidbar in the desert, I just learned something very interesting from Hebrew speakers and grammarians in Hebrew, that they say that the regular way to call it is BeMidbar, but the title of the book is BeMidbar, and because it's a contraction between Ba and Ha, and then because it's the wilderness of the desert, you know, BeMidbar, the BeMidbar. It's very interesting learning so many things. I get excited, by the way, when I can learn something new. I always get excited. Every time that I'm learning something, it's like I am growing. Only to give you a little synopsis about this book and what we are going to get into. This book is special, and it's really different to the other books in their own right, because this book, it is what I call it the transition book, the book that goes from one period to another period. And this is the book that is going to show us about our growing up as a nation, our wonderful times and worst times, our failures, also they are going to be shown there. And it's important that we see it in the way that is redacted in this book. Please do not take this book totally chronological, because you will have a lot of problems with it. But take it as an instructive book, as a book that is going to share teachings, guidance, principles, in order that through the different circumstances and situations, we need to learn from the others about what to do and what not to do. This is what is important about the Torah. When God teaches and gives us His commandments, His instructions, I told you that it's not because He likes to be a party pooper, you know, totally the contrary. His desire is that we have life and life in abundance, that we can really enjoy our life. But what happens when you start getting away from those instruction guidance, those teachings, those warnings? You know, you start suffering consequences. And suffering consequences always is, almost all of us, without exception. We become very defensive, and immediately we blame others. You know, it's like we become Teflon. You know what Teflon is, no? That nothing sticks on me. I throw as fast as I can. It's somebody else's fault. It's not my fault. Well, God is going to teach us through all of this that until we do not acknowledge our ways, we can never grow. You know, and there is times in life that we go through circumstances and situations where God is lighting a little light, you know, and trying to show us that there is a need for something. Now, it's not that just happened in that moment. You will be surprised that many things that happen to you have been already programmed, if we put it that way. But you are growing without realizing that it's already in you. You know, once people say, well, suddenly I realized that this is in this way. No. You suddenly open your eyes, you saw it. But God has already prepared you for you to see it. Okay? That will come from a long time behind. And it's a process. All of us go through that process. And not necessarily we realize that we are in the process. Because if you realize that you're in the process, you will stop the process. Okay? Then it's like this, the changes in your own life. When we are growing, for example, we are young, you know, it's very interesting. Younger than you are, smarter than you think that you are. You know? Older that you start getting, you start realizing that you were not as smart as you saw that you were. No? Those qualities are only you can see it until you get to a certain age. You know, there was a time in my life I thought I was smarter than my father. You know, I was convinced that my father didn't know anything and I knew more than him. You know, what is he going to know? You know, he's from another generation. I am from the new generation. We know everything. Today, you see the kids, you know, with those things, you know, that you see a them and you trying to put two fingers and you cannot do it. And they do it without even thinking, you know. They are smarter than you, supposedly. But at the same time, what is happening is that there is a new thing, a new generation, and you are accustomed to different ways. That transition, that change is costly. And really, you need to accept the changes. If you do not accept the changes, you are going to be like, I will say, a figure of the museum. That you're going to be there forever, you know, the same person. You know, when we say that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, He's not a piece of museum, because He identified with the generation that He is the way that we need to see it. You see, He is constantly evolving in our sights, and we are discovering new things about Him that we didn't know before. And this is what is exciting about living with God and knowing God, because believe me or not, since you come to know God, every day you're going to learn something new, and there is something exciting. You're going to go through tests. You're going to go to situations in which the God is going to help you. And that experience is going to make you better later on. In the moment, we don't like it. But later on, when we look back, we see, I am glad I had this experience, because this experience has helped me to be better. You know, it's similar to when you do exercises. You know, the runner, they say that they don't start running the whole marathon. You know, any runner start first 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, they start extending the distance until they make the distance, and they start going through the distance, until one day, when they are ready for the marathon, you know, the distance is not the problem. The problem is to get there first. You see, if your body doesn't go with you, doesn't matter how fast you want to be, you cannot go anywhere. This is the part of the exercise, and this is the part what God is going to give it to us. You can call it experience, you can call it circumstances, you can call it situation, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But one thing I want to tell you, and this is going to surprise you and me, has surprised me too. Everything that happened to you or to me or to us, God already has in consideration. The only one that we are surprised is ourselves. In other words, even if you try, you cannot surprise God. Okay? Well, if we are going to be in that idea, in the frame of mind, let me tell you this. This book is a special book because I call it the book of the transition. You know, the book of Genesis, the book of the initiation, creation, and the formation, the beginning of what Israel is going to be. The book of Shemot is the book of the deliverance of this people, Israel, to be now exclusively with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the formation. And they're going to need to have a special classroom Okay? And this classroom is going to be totally in the middle of nowhere, BeMidbar, in the wilderness. Why? Because these people are going to need to have total attention, concentration on what our God, our Father, blessed be His name, is going to do. And many times, we do not understand why He brought Israel to the middle of nowhere. Well, you see, they already were accustomed to be in a society of great buildings and great things and a lot of wealth and a lot of things, you know. Now, He wanted to bring their attention to Him. And He wanted total attention. I don't want that you be looking at the air on the other side. You know, in the middle of the wilderness, where are you going to look? The heavens and the sand. That's all that you need to look, you know, and on some mountains. Exactly. But when you are in the middle of the city, I'm sorry, I need to have my cup of coffee, I need to go to Starbucks. You know, you don't need. Tim Horton was not there yet. Then, what was allowing you is to concentrate and to have total attention in what He was going to teach you. That is the reason I gave you the Torah. And He gave you the Torah in Har Sinai, you know. And there, He get the attention of all the people of Israel who say that we will do it and we will obey. And not only that, but then He said that this is not only for your generation, but for all the generations that are going to come after you. Those teachings have not changed. And those values have not changed. Now, what has changed maybe could be the way that we apply them, because our life has changed. But the value, the principle, the basic principle has never changed. It's still the same. Because God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And when He said not to kill, it's not to kill before, today, and forever. That has not changed. You know, then we need to understand all those things in the way that He was trying to give us. The book of Exodus allows us to get out and to start the formation of the people. The idea, supposedly, I am totally sure that God knew what was going to happen, but this is how the sequences come. The idea was that as soon as they were delivered, and they have what we call a crash course in how to be a free Israeli, no? They were going to conquer the promised land that God was giving to Israel, that was given to them as a gift. Now, many of us, we don't like that kind of gift, by the way, you know, because this gift that what God was giving to Israel was something that said, I want to give it to you, but you need to secure it, you need to obtain it, you need to work for it. By the way, nothing different after Adam and Eve were spared from the Garden Eden, from the Garden of Eden. You know, after that, men needed to work for everything. It was there, but God was going to do. We saw in the last parasha, or the last book, the last week in Behukotai, the book of Vayikra or Leviticus, about the Tohaha, the warnings. And we saw that what will happen if we do not follow what He is telling us. Here, in this book, at the beginning, called BeMidbar, because there are a lot of numbers, that's the reason, one of the reasons why it's called numbers, you know, He is going to immediately ask for a census. By the way, this was not the first census that Israel was going to have. There were several censuses, several counting before. Some they say 4, others say 3, all depending how you start counting. You know, for example, if you go from Bereshit, you know, the people who left 70. By the way, if you start taking the numbers, literally, you are missing the point. The numbers in the Torah is to give us messages. Okay? The numbers are messages. I mean, I like a lot of gematria, and I know that many of you, you do not like it, but I want to tell you, to me, gematria has a lot of meaning, and you see the numbers, you're going to see a lot of messages. Another thing that's interesting about this is they left 70. You know, that already is giving to you what it means 70. Final, pact, covenant, finished. Now we are going to start something new. Okay, that's already, only looking at numbers, you start getting a lot of meanings. I like this example that I want to give it at the beginning, in that way I can get rid of that about numbers. It is, to me, it's very interesting, not only because it's in the book of Numbers, in this book, but you can exercise your own mathematical skills, and you are going to be able to do numbers. I did this this week with a group that I had the classes through conference through internet, but I want to give it to you in this way. If you are if you write in Hebrew, for example, you know, the idea of the breed is forever. This covenant is forever. You know, it's working with Israel. If you add the numbers, okay, the numbers of the census of the people of Israel, counting the Israelis from the age of 20 up to the Levites from the age 30 to 50, you added these two numbers, and I'm going to give you the numbers. One is 603,000, 605,000, how do you say 605, comma? 600, 5,000, thank you, 550, 603, 550, okay? 603, 550, okay, 6,000, 3,000, sorry. My English and my numbers, they don't combine together. It has other way to say in Spanish. Okay. Plus, you added the number of Levites, census Levites, from the age of 30 to 50. This addition, the total addition was 8,580. Okay? Now, only to give you certain games that they play in the Gematria, the ending 50 with the ending 80, if you add 50 plus 80, how much it is?
130.
No. 100, yeah. If you add 5 plus 8, 13. And what it means 13?
5.
5, yeah. But at 130, what is equal 130? It's a high. Is it high?
No, I said 5.
I'm sorry.
But I'm not the rabbi, so relax.
Yeah. I know. It's a high. I'm sorry. I didn't
I'm
hear.
allowed to make mistakes. He isn't.
I didn't hear where I thought that he was saying Ehad. Okay. Ehad is one, no? And 13 by 10, I don't want to confuse you, but this needs a little bit of imagination. 13 by 10 is 130, no? 13 is Ehad, 10 is Olam, forever. Okay? Got it, that point? Okay. Now, 612, because if you add 603,550 plus 8580, the total is 612,130. Okay? That is the total. The number 612, 6,1200. What it means? Equal, if you put equal, and now write the word Brit. Bet, Resh, okay, Yud, and Tav. Brit. Okay. Bet is 2. Resh is 200. Yud is 10. And Tav is 400. How is it soon?
612.
You're a good mathematician. 612. Okay. Now, how much is 12 plus 1? Wow, you are really mathematicians. You see, you really know. Okay.
Next year we use PowerPoint figures.
What you want to see in this book about the numbers, 612, 130 means breed of God forever. A covenant of God forever. Okay? Now, in this book, you're going to see that the main numbers that are going to play a great role is number 8 and number 13. To the difference of Genesis, that was number 7 and number 12. What does this mean? Because it's important. Number 7 means finished job. Number 8 is the breed, the covenant, new beginning. Number 12 means the fullness of God, but giving to us, for example, everything that we need, you know. Number 13 is His covering of His presence, God Himself. Okay? Well, that is in Gematria. I know that we don't need to put too much attention on that, but I give it to this because you will be surprised about the numbers that are given here. All the numbers has a meaning. The problem, they need to be mathematicians to find it. But almost all the numbers are prime numbers. They are included here, prime numbers. You know, in the whole Bible, in the whole Chumash, there are 40 prime numbers. And the succession of prime numbers, the only one, this is interestingly, that is not there, is number 53, that's a prime number. And most of the gematrias, and I stop here because they already confuse you, gematria is the 53 is equal to Gan. Gan idin, Gan. That means that the 53 is not there because we are not there yet. Okay, but this is only to give. Now, why I start like this? Because I want to tell you something. Everything is written here in the Torah was written by somebody who was greater than us. And we were not that smart. And everything has a meaning and points to us to something. And the writing of this is going to give us the opportunity to learn even deeper if we want to. And we want to go through that journey of getting deeper and deeper. But even if you touch the surface, you are going to gain a lot. And this is a process. When God asked Israel through Moses to have a census of the people, look at the census is to all the men, all the men. He doesn't mention women, children, okay, from 20 up. Okay? Now, there is a discussion here. Many of the rabbis, they say that it's 20 to 60. That is mostly the idea. No? Even here doesn't say. It only says from 20 to up. Okay? Why they say 60 is because we just saw last week in chapter 27 of Vayikra the value of men and women, and after 60 men don't value anything, go down to the rim. No? It's sad for that, but anyway. My value went down, you know, was in inflation, I think it's something, devaluation, whatever. I was devaluated. Anyway, the others say that it's all the men, that they were able to pour arms and to go to war. Why? Because it's say here, Joseph, Sabah. They are going to go to the army. Now, with the Levites, who are counted after totally separated from the 12 tribes, it's not interesting, from the 12 tribes. The Levites is another tribe. Suddenly, from 12 tribes, now we have 13 tribes. What it means? 13? One. Okay. When you start looking at that, by the way, I am praying because I like numbers and look through numbers. You know, for those who are interested in numbers, I can give you a lot of papers written about prime numbers and things like that, about the Torah. The code of the Torah is amazing. You know, this is another study that I don't want to go there. But I want to tell you this. This book is outstanding. Now, in this process, what God is trying to teach us, what He's trying to guide us, what the principles He's trying to share. When He prepares Israel and prepares the whole camp of Israel, first of all, He's going to give it order. You know, our God is a God of order. Anytime that you see all very chaotic, right? God is not part of that. You know, even from the beginning, in Bereshit, the universe was chaotic, and what He did, put in order. Okay? Then we can see the process of God bringing it to order. And one of the roles of Mashiach was to bring us back to order. Why? Because each one wants to do their own things, but God is going to bring us back. In this order, you know, He's going to put people and functions. But look at how the census is going to be counted. If you are a little bit curious, all the chapters from the first to the fourth chapter, they're counting. Fifth chapter 2, they're counting the census of the different tribes and families, the Levites and Israel. There is a term that is used over and over again, and it's this. Okay? Kol adat bnei Israel lemishpechotem lebeit avotam BeMidbar. That you shall count all the families through the lineage of the father. Over and over and over again through the lineage of the father. If I read to you what our rabbis tell you about that, they use the book of Sanhedrin and Kedoshim to justify in the Talmud that was changed to mothers. Why do you need to supposedly repair a mistake from God? And you needed to put it in a text to say, no, it's not any longer like that. Well, God changed His mind. And this idea that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, that doesn't work. You know, He evolved. He is more open. Well, there are certain social things that we can understand. I am totally understanding, for example, here in a community, something happened this morning, very interesting. I don't know if you were aware of. I don't know how many of you were aware. For the first time we had a woman reading a portion. Do you see that? Okay. Do you sit here, sitting down? Are we divided between men and women? Are we going to say to the women, don't touch the men? We have evolved? No, we are understanding the Torah better. Because God never intended what men intended. God was misunderstood and was giving men's understanding instead of what God was telling us. Well, there are many things like that that we need to constantly renovate, renew, that we need to constantly challenge ourselves, and instead to fall in the trap of following what men say, we constantly need to go back to God. Then, this paternal lineage is for everything. We saw it already in the book of Vayikra, when we had the Shulamit, the Jewish lady, the Danite lady, who had a son with an Egyptian. And this son, the Egyptian, had problem to see to which tribe he belongs. Because he was not considered part of her tribe. Why? Because the father didn't have a tribe. What needed to do Ereb Rab to be part of Israel? What needed to do somebody who was not a Jew, from the mixed multitude, to be part to Israel? He needed to join to a tribe. And joining to the tribe, he acquired the place. Because there were, and here we are going to see, that there were camps outside of the camps. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean. The first camp, or the first center, the center of Israel, what we're going to do here is the Mishkan, the tabernacle. In the center of the center, the formation of the Menachei Israel. You have Menachei Mishkan, you have Menachei Aaron, Menachei Gershon, Menachei Kahat, Menachei Merari. Then after that, you have Menachei Judah, Menachei Reuben, Menachei Ephraim, and Menachei Dan. You know, these four, the Gelim, or the Gel, the banners, were around and around. You can call it squares or circles, the way that you wanted to put it. There are different ways that the people made the graphics, because we don't have graphics in the Torah. But here what is very important. What is in the center of the camp of Israel? The Mishkan. Then outside the camp, in the east part, what is the most important part, the direction, which group is after the Mishkan? No. Almost. Warm. The word in the east, I am talking, in the east. The Kohanim, the Aaron family. You fail. Okay. So don't argue with your rabbi. Okay. In the other side was Gershon. You have Gershon, you have Kahat, and you have Merari. Then the same thing happened. The outer circle, outer square, however you want to. Okay. Who is in the east? Now you got it. You see, it's Judah. Then you have who is in the west. You have the Ephraim, Benjamin. Then you have in the south is Reuben, and in the north is Dan. And all the groups, and you're going to see how they are divided. Tribes that they belong. And there is a relationship, by the way, among the tribes. For example, the tribe of Ephraim, they have the three descendants of Joseph. You know, Menashe, Ephraim, and Benjamin. You know, in the tribe of Reuben, you have Reuben, Shimeon, and Gad. Who is God? God is the son of the concubine from Rachel, no, from Rachel, from Leah and Silpa, you know. And then in the other side, In the north, sometimes they call it the lowest category, but that was no category. You have the two children from Rachel's May, Bilha. Then you have Naphtali, Dan and Asher, and then you have Naphtali, the son of also Silpa. Okay. If you look at this, there is a reason and there is an order. And yes, you want it or not. And this is what it is. We're all equals, but there are some are more equals than others. Okay? That has been always a principle. And if you feel upset about that, it's your problem. Okay? Because you cannot be what other is. For example, if you were a Levi from the family of Gershon, and you wanted to take the ark, you will be dead. Because only the family of Kehat were allowed to do that. And if you were a Reubenite and wanted to take the leadership instead of the Juhadites, you will have problems. And if you were a Levite and you were not a direct descendant of Aaron, and you wanted to be a high priest, you couldn't be. Okay? That was an order. And this is to teach us that also everybody has a place and a role to play, and every role is very important. Following these ideas, God gave us order and gave us a camp in order to respect the order, and everybody knew their place. And everybody knew the role, and everybody knew what they needed to do. This is important. Sometimes when we are chaotic, for example, here in our community, sometimes we get chaotic. No? Why? Because the leaders have not been able to give good, clear directions of what people need to do. Now what happened? You know, everybody tries to do their own things, and at the end, it's a mess. But what happens is everybody knows what they need to do. It's smooth. Let me put another very good example. I like it. You have an engine, okay, and they give you the parts of the engine. And what you do is you put it all in, you wash it very well, and then you put it and throw it all inside the engine, and then you start trying to start your car. You know, you're going to see that doesn't matter how hard you try, that car will never start. Because every piece is in their place. And you know, sometimes the most small piece is the one that gives you the hardest time. Because every piece is necessary. It's not interesting that that's what Rabbi Shaul was teaching us about how important it is when you are part of the body, when you're part of Israel. You know, there is every function in the body. I ask you this simple question. In your own mind, what is the most important part of the body? What is the most important part of the body?
It's everything.
Okay. You know, what is interesting, by the way, in certain way, Dr. Schulman is right. Because I don't say that it's right, but in certain way it's right. But there are two areas that, for example, when you have brain death, even if your heart is working, you know, you consider it dead, you know. Of course, if your heart doesn't work, you already go. There's nothing can do. But you can still living with your heart, but if your brain is dead, they consider you dead. Then could be the brain, could be the heart, whatever it is. But there is one thing, you know. Even today, I don't know if there is a person that can live without hair. You know, They can cut you every part of your body that is not important, and you can still live. You know?
The hard work.
Yeah. Make what the hard work. Now, if they cut your head,
That wasn't a sideshow, I saw.
okay.
Endless.
What is the point they're trying to make it for you to see it? Is that everybody is important, and everybody needs to be counted. Even the little ones. Okay? Now, the question always is, for example, let me tell you, sometimes numbers they don't match. That's the reason that I say to you that the rabbi is trying to explain this, what happened, that they came here together. I don't need to try to explain God, but I need to see the numbers, because the number has meanings. Okay? And instead of trying to defend God, if he committed a mistake adding or resting or doing things, you know, like how many went to they led to Egypt, or how many years, they were 400 years or 430 years or 230 years. You know, all of those things to me are only illustration. We were a slave for a period of time, and we were there, and we can count it from the beginning to the end. We can make a lot of explanations about those things, but what is important is what we can get from it. It's the principle that is important. You know, historical value, certain things, yes. That existed, yes. That happened, yes. But what is important is not so much about the historical value as much what is important is the teachings that we can get from there. No. Historical value is important that they existed and they participated and they were there. Still today, by the way, one of the greatest problems the archaeologists and anthropologists they have about, and some of the theologians have, is about that still today they have not been able to find, according to them, anything in reference to the Yexia, the Exodus through the desert. You know, we have not been able to find it. There are certain things from other cultures that is described in the book of Exodus, but still they don't have, supposedly they don't have completely sample. But for example, these new discoveries that they have done in the Red Sea, crossing the Red Sea, all those kinds of things, they're still on the air because they have not been able to prove it. Okay. Okay. Those wheels that has found, there is not. They say there is no proof. There is the wishful thing. Okay. Whatever it is. Okay. Even the points, and this is important. The point that the book of Numbers is going to describe the journey of Israel in the wilderness is not a chronological, and it's not what we call a totally historical in the sense that one after the other, after the other, after the other. We're giving points, and the points were important not because of the time, but it was important with what happened and what we could get from it. What I say all of this, not to try to put cold water over your shoulders, but to let you know that sometimes people try to make a point that this cannot be from God because this doesn't fit with this. You know? And I say, take it as a teaching. Take it as something that God is giving you as an example. This is, by the way, one of the greatest problems with the Messianic writings, especially with the Mishlei, or the Mashals, I'm sorry. No, the Proverbs, but the Mashal, the parables, the Yeshua, the Messiah gave us. Because many people, they have problem to differentiate between a parable and something that happens. You know, for example, the parable of the rich man and Lazarus. You know, everybody says, oh, that really happens. You know, and they don't understand that it's a parable. You know, we try to make everything. For example, I want to give you a very interesting situation. The one of this beautiful portion of the the woman, the sinner, the whatever you call it, the prostitute or whatever you want to call it, that is put in the book of John, but really belongs to the book of Luke. Okay? And everybody knows that now. Even the experts, they know that was taken out of the book of Luke. The writing, the style, everything fit exactly to Luke. Was put there. The question is, that really happened or not? We are divided. I am from the idea that that didn't happen. That is only an illustration, a story about him. Okay, a teaching. But there were many things there that don't fit, but fit as a teaching too. The same way, we are going to see in the journey of Israel in the desert. Now, this is the part that I need to add. I told you that this is the book of the transition. It's also a book of change of guard, the book of generational change. Okay? From one generation to another generation, it's going to pass the baton. They're going to go to the next generation. The generation who left Egypt was obvious that was not going to be able to conquer the promised land. Then the one that were going to conquer the promised land were going to be the second generation. How that happened, we see at the beginning of this book, and we are going to see in chapters 13 and 14 of these books about the situation of the spies. That also that is in sometimes is in debate when that really happened. But it's obvious that they were sent just after they were formed and they were totally organized as a nation, and they were advancing toward the Transjordan. And they sent them, the spies, to check the place, the land of milk and honey. And they came back with saying the land is wonderful and beautiful and the great thing, but we will never be able to get it, to conquer. And there are two men there. There are only two men of the 12 that they are totally positive to get upset. And the one that is more excited than everybody else is called Caleb. Our dear Caleb is a symbol of the Erech Rab, and it's a symbol of the Goyim Sedakim, righteous Gentile, who incorporated to Israel, because he became a prince of Judah, and he was not Jewish, because his father was not a Jew. Okay, this is in the scripture, and we have seen that the lineage needs to be through the father, but it tells me that they have incorporated to the tribe of Judah, and he has advanced and brought to the position of being, and then see a prince. Now, a chieftain, whatever. And what did he say? He said, we got in our side. We can do anything. And the rest of people, oh, look at what happened. We cannot do it. We are missed. And because of that, they say, you do not deserve to get in the promised land. And the only two that are going to get in the promised land from this generation is going to be Yehoshua and Caleb, because we're the only one that they brought the Queen in. The problem was, but why we are going to punish? Why we are going to punish the rest of the people? Let's punish the team, the spies. Why do we need to punish the rest of the Israel, that generation? Because they were lying. Okay? They were identified with this standard. Now, what we can learn now from this book at this moment? That we need time to prepare. There are circumstances that happen in our lives. They are going to help us to prepare. Even that if at the beginning we see that are detrimental or the very hard, that's what is going to form us and make us better. How many of you have had a very hard upbringing? How many of you have had a really difficult time in your life growing up? And how many of you can say, even that was very hard and very difficult, I am grateful that now I am different and I have this and I can do this. And I am a better person because I can look back and I can see where I don't want to go or I don't want to be. Meanwhile, somebody who had grew up very good and everything has been hunky-dory, you know, maybe now they have no problem. Why? Because they were not prepared to face life. Parents and children, listen carefully here. Sometimes parents commit a mistake to overprotect their children. And when you overprotect your children, you annul them totally. And you do not allow them to grow. You know, sometimes they need to experience situations. I know that we want to protect them as much as we can. But they need to learn. Because if they do not learn on their own, let me tell you, later on it's going to be tough. I can give you the story of somebody that I know very close to me. That he grew up very spoiled. And one day he decided to leave home and to be on his own. And he moved to another country. And for the first time, he needed to learn to wash his own clothes, to make his own bed, and to do those things that he never did it before in his life. This friend of mine, one day, the first time I was there in another country, he needed to wash his clothes. He had never washed his clothes in his life because he had to grow in a very special way that everybody would do it for him. That's not people in his home. But then, this young man got all his clothes, the very few clothes that he had at that time, and put it all together in the washing machine. You know, he was the first person that saw dressed psychedelically. Psychedelically means that, I don't know if you know about the 70s, the hippies, they were dressed, you know, totally psychedelic. That young man was me. Okay? And I know that being overprotected sometimes is not good. We need to teach our children. And there's nothing wrong with for them to learn to do things. We need to teach them that life is hard. And nothing is given to you in a silver plate. That you need to work for it. And you need to really try to do your best. If you do not study when you are young, you're going to suffer the consequences when you are older. But we don't do that anymore. And this is the problem that we have. And God worked with Israel. He took care of Israel, but he didn't overprotect Israel. He allowed Israel to fall in their own problems and made them to get out. And they needed to acknowledge and recognize what they did wrong. In this book, we are going to see the rebellion of Dotan and Abiram, the rebellion of Korah. We are going to see the spies. We are going to see the different places, how many times the new generation start complaining, where is water? What is the new generation, not the old generation, the new generation. You're going to see all those processes. Why they need to go through the same thing that their parents went. Why? Because they needed to learn about the hardship of life, and that they needed to be tough and stronger, and they needed to learn to fight. You know, one thing is to teach your children not to be aggressive, in the sense that not to be bullies, not to fight. That's good to teach your children. But you need to teach your children to defend themselves, to learn to defend themselves. You know why? Because there are going to be times that you're not going to be there to defend them. And there are bullies everywhere. You see, the problem is that the pacifists, the misunderstanding our Messiah Yeshua. And when they hit you on one cheek, you put the second cheek, you know? And they're taking all totally out of context. Okay? He's talking about people that he knows they are part of them. People that you know that they are your friends, your neighbors, you know? Okay? When you do that, they are going to feel themselves of guilt and remorse. But when you allow that to an unknown person to do that, and he say, give me a word, and they give it over everywhere. Or the Israel say, you know what? Now the Palestinians, they're attacking me. I want to put my other cheek to attack me more. You know? Sometimes taking out of the context, we can make ideas. The pacifists, they are groups in Christianity that they are pacifists. The Amish people, the Quakers, you know, they're pacifists. Do you know that they do not use mustache? They do beard and they look like the Amish people, they look like the Orthodox Jews, but the only thing that has a difference is they don't have mustache. You know why they don't have mustache? Because at the time that they started in the 1600s, you know, all the soldiers, they have mustache. Mustache means war, you know, then they shave. Now, let's follow God, let's not follow men. And let's understand God for what He said. Yes, God is a God of shalom, and God is a God of peace. But peace needs to be obtained, and you need to work on it. Okay? To give up, this is no peace. Peace is when we accept our conditions and we accept each other the way that we are. Well, there is a lot of things more that I would like to talk to you about this message. Our Messiah Yeshua, look, I am sure that look at this book, BeMidbar. He knew it from the beginning to the end. And he realized that generation that he was talking to was a generation that needed to change to a new generation. And was almost there. But the problem is that messages sometimes don't fall in all everybody's right hands. You know? And this is telling us that every generation has a responsibility to continue and to improve. This is a responsibility for our next generation. We that are a little now younger than others, we need to set the example to this new generation that comes. They need to see us for who we are. They need to see that we are honest and transparent. They need to see us that we have mistakes, we have limitations. There's nothing wrong when you are limited, you are not perfect. Why? Because I honestly believe that if we have a right upbringing, the young people are very smart to see who is and who is not. You know? We are accustomed to judge people by the cover, you know? And what is more important is to see what is inside that cover. This is part of who we are. Let's not make ourselves something that we are not. Let's not put a custom over us, but let's be ourselves. The most beautiful thing that you and I, we can be, is ourselves. Why? Because God made us in that way, and God put us in a place in order that we function. in the right way. If you are in the right place, you are going to be always fulfilled. May the Lord bless you and fill with your presence. And this Torah lesson has finished. Shabbat Shalom.